Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome into the program. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Do your kids do the thrifting thing nowadays? Kids in our neighborhood are like...
Oh, they call them the bins.
Oh, yeah. They're like, get me over to this thrift store. I'm going thrifting this afternoon,
No,
Dad.
they say I'm going to the bins.
Yeah, and I go...
His buddies go to the bins.
Yes, and I go, what? Okay. I said, by the way, why don't you go through my closet, the bags of clothes that are endless in our basement first? So he goes and digs, and suddenly we're the coolest parents on the planet. You know why? Because he found a 2015 Royal Purple Las Vegas Bowl sweatshirt that had that BYU and Utah helmet clashing together that I only bought because I was like, when do you see this? Mm-hmm. Right? I got sold on that. When do you see BYU and Utah on a sweatshirt together with a bowl game next to it? And so far, it's only been that one. But we can always dream. And he was like, dude, look how cool this is. And 2015, by the way, I might as well have told him 1993. Like, that's in his mind, 2015 is old. You're old. This sweatshirt is so vintage. Cool, Dad. And I'm like, wow, that's where we've gotten. 2015 is old. That's where we're at. That's where we're at now. But yeah, and then he's rolling out, and he found a Big O Tires 1992 windbreaker. Also, couldn't have been the cooler. He was the coolest kid on the planet. Why? It always goes like this. It always goes like this. I'm glad that the fashion that he likes now is $3.
That's nice.
Per item.
They still come for the $200 shoes, though.
They still roll up. Now, a thing happened the other day.
They don't get shoes at the bins.
He had shoes on.
At the bins.
He had shoes on I've never seen before. Uh-huh. I said, where'd you get those? He goes, traded them. Traded my shoes to get them. I was like, you guys are okay. All right.
Our kids trade shoes like we trade stock.
Fine. I'm all for it. What I'm saying is BYU and Utah, the helmet on the sweatshirt this week. It's not a bowl game.
Nice.
But there's a lot going on with this rivalry game. And, of course, yesterday with the college football playoff rankings coming out, I told you not to overreact, and yet here we are. Overreacting, which is the name of the game when it comes to sports talk radio, all right? And I think a lot of people are pretty pissed that BYU is just in that 9 spot. But they're in the 9th spot in the AP poll. You weren't pissed about that, BYU fans. But you felt slighted by the number 9 slot that you got yesterday in the college football playoff rankings. It's early, though. Let's jump in here. Our program brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives. Find the G2G Bar at Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods. There's a Smith's by me that has like a million different flavors of the like deep cut B-side flavors you don't see very often. I'll have to bring some in. So go check it out.
It's like
in the
buying Kit Kats
section.
in Japan. They have different random flavors.
Oh, yeah. It's like when you used to buy the Garbage Pail Kids, and you're like, ooh, I got this pack. You haven't seen these yet.
Mm.
It's a lot like that.
I wish I still had my Garbage Pail Kids.
The Garbage Pail Kids. I would feel weird my kids seeing them and be like, what on earth were you looking at when you were a kid? First of all, you have to explain Cabbage Patch Kids before you get the Garbage Pail Kids.
It's too layered.
No. I can't do it. All right. Let's jump into the cut here at the top of the show. Let's do it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Well, I went down a rabbit hole. I'm looking at Garbage Pail Kids that are for sale.
The show's over. I'm going to start looking up G.I. Joe figures and He-Man action figures.
I know. Barfy Brimes.
It's rivalry week, and we're talking about Garbage Pail Kids.
Maligned Margot.
Here we go.
Bugged Bert. He's the guy that's got bugs going in and out of his head. You know? It's, yes. So, by the way, they sell brand new of these. You can find new ones. So, there you go. That's where we've gotten. Vintage, everything's new is old again. So your thoughts right off the bat because we were off the air when this happened. We watched the rollout of the rankings and they went through. And when BYU was revealed at 9, I didn't think much of it because I thought, okay, single digit ranking, nice. And part of the reason that medicine went down a little bit better was because they immediately moved them over to that 4 seed in the bracket. Okay, they're the highest rate, and they're the highest ranked Big 12 team, so let's put them right here. So there's this little thing where the number 9 didn't feel like you were getting slighted that much because they shifted them over to that number 4 spot in the college football playoff as if they were to start today, which, of course, it never does. So your thoughts originally as BYU got rolled out is number 9. You and I both had them higher yesterday. I think you had them at 5. I had them at 6. I had Indiana at 7. I think you had Indiana. Did you have Indiana at 6? We both had them around where they were.
I think I had them at 7.
But
let me pull that up.
Indiana leapfrogs BYU in the college football playoff rankings.
I had BYU, Miami, Indiana.
Okay, so you had Indiana higher even. And the pollsters or the playoff committee put Indiana at what? 8 or 7? Yeah,
8.
So they put them at 8. Indiana feels slighted. BYU fans feel slighted. And I didn't necessarily feel that slighted by it. Now, you're like, no, this is a problem. This could be a problem further down the line, and why?
They got screwed yesterday. 100%. BYU fans should be furious. We were told this was going to be different. The 12-team playoff. It's not. Look who's in front of them in this 12-team playoff. Let me go through this. Miami, 9-0. Okay, they're undefeated like BYU. I have no problem with Miami being in this conversation. They have no wins over top 25 teams. Why are they 4? Why? They've had close calls against Virginia Tech and Cal. I think there's another one in there where they just barely skated by.
I think it's like a lot of teams that found themselves in the AP poll rankings and when the first AP poll ranking comes out, the preseason poll, which the first week of rankings are basically kind of that baseline after that first preseason poll. And teams like Miami are usually put up a little bit higher than they probably should be. And that matters. That matters. And that actually has bitten BYU a little bit. They are 9th in the first round of college football playoff rankings because they were 40th on the rankings at the beginning of the year.
So,
or 60th.
That's not supposed to matter.
Of course it's not, but it does.
Resume's supposed to matter. What have you accomplished? Who have you beat? Who's Texas beat this year? Go. Give me a name.
North Texas?
What top 25 team has Texas beat?
Now, 0 top 25 teams. Yeah, I get it.
Okay, why are they 5th?
Because they started the year, I think, 3rd, right?
They started the year.
Again, I'm telling you.
That is not part of the conversation here.
Come on. You know who we're dealing with.
Yeah, I know. That's why I don't trust it. It's the same stuff. It's the same old stuff. They're just rewarding the brands. It's the haves and the have-nots. It is. Their best win this year is over Vanderbilt.
Yeah, but
Vanderbilt beat Bama.
Vanderbilt's a lot better this year.
Vanderbilt beat Bama, so respect.
Man. Respect.
No.
I'm telling you.
Penn State. What has Penn State done this year?
Lose
again to Ohio State.
Their 9th in a row or whatever it is to Ohio State.
Who have they beat?
I want to say, hey, listen, they beat West Virginia. Oh, they beat USC.
How's USC doing this year? What's their record?
Are they honestly? What is their
USC's
record?
2-5 in Big 12 and Big 10 conference play, 4-5 overall.
Boy, how's that?
And
LSU?
USC, by the way, beat LSU.
Remember when? Who's their quarterback again? I already forgot his name.
Just got benched.
Did he really? The guy who was going around taunting the
what's his name? Miller Moss.
Taunting the LSU fans at Allegiant Stadium.
Yep, he just lost his job to the UNLV transfer.
And then we all realized that neither USC nor LSU were actually any good.
Right.
Whoops.
Now, until LSU beats Bama this week, then LSU's going to be in the top 12.
I like LSU as a 3-loss team in the Big 12 in the SEC. They've had a tough schedule this year, Mike.
Like it is. Like clockwork, we can anticipate this.
Penn State's best win this year is over Illinois.
Is BYU looked at?
And they were losing to Bowling Green.
So why is it? Because BYU obviously has the two best wins
it's
on
lazy.
their resume.
It's lazy. They just reward the brands. It's Penn State. It's Texas. It's
BYU
Miami.
thought
it's
about-
Georgia. It's Ohio State.
Yeah.
It's Oregon. They get the benefit of the doubt.
Now, SMU is 13th, right? They're lost to BYU. And the fact that they are blowing the doors off teams now has put them in a spot where they're number 13 in the college football playoff ranking. SMU is looked at still as like a G5 plus.
Right.
They're like a G, and I think BYU is looked at a little bit of the same fashion. They look at them like a Boise State, like an SMU, because they look and they kind of lump them all together. Because 5 seconds ago, SMU was in the what were they in? The AAC, yeah, and then Boise State is still, oh, you're amazing, but you're still a G5, right? BYU. That's cute, but the Big 12 isn't really the Big 12 anymore. You guys are kind of down here. It is definitely, it's looked at as something totally different. I don't think that they look at them as a true Power 4 team right now. And that's why they had to put them in that top 10, but they couldn't dare put them ahead of Tennessee or Penn State, which is exactly where they should be.
Tennessee.
And frankly, Texas.
Tennessee. Okay, they beat Bama at home. Is Bama still Bama?
Okay.
I don't think so. They got
Let
two losses.
me give you the list.
Their best win.
Yeah.
Or sorry, their best win outside of Bama,
Who?
Florida.
Oh. Billy Napier, is he still employed there? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Good for them.
They lost to Arkansas.
Yes. Yeah. That's bad.
Okay, losses don't matter?
No, that's what's crazy to me is that
Why is
Penn
the
State
SEC
losing.
Why is a loss at Arkansas not as punitive? If BYU loses to Utah, they're going to drop out of the top 10. They're going to drop down to 13, 14, 15.
So in the top 5, you have 3 teams that have one loss. I'm not trying to say that the one-loss teams are automatically just a worse team than BYU. But here's what I am saying. Teams like Tennessee, Penn State, and Texas are faking it currently. All right?
I agree.
Here are the teams who have won more than, or here are the teams that have beaten ranked opponents that are in the top 10 currently. Okay? Oregon has won 2 games over top 25 teams.
Ranked number 1 for a reason. They deserve it. They're the best team in the country right now.
Georgia is the only next team in the top 5 with 2 wins over top 25 teams. They have 2.
I have no problem with where they're at.
Okay? Miami's at 4. They have 0 wins against top 25 teams.
That's a problem.
Texas has 0 wins against top 25 teams, and they have a loss.
Right.
Okay? Penn State, 0 wins against top 25 teams. And by the way, they're not playing any the rest of the way. And they have a loss. They just took it against Ohio State at home. 0 wins. They are 3 slots ahead of BYU. Tennessee, the only other team in here. So the only teams that have wins over top 25 teams are Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, and Tennessee. Until you get down to BYU, 3 teams have 2 wins over ranked opponents currently. Oregon, Georgia, and BYU.
Exactly.
And BYU beat SMU, and they beat number 19 Kansas State. Number 13 and number 19.
SMU is on the road.
I don't want to do.
I'm not just like throwing stuff against the wall. I'm not patronizing BYU fans right now.
You're a homer. Homer, bro. You think
We're
it's
using
objective?
facts here.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you. Let's go to a guy who previously has shorted BYU. I think at some point 2 weeks ago we were like, oh, look, Greg McElroy finally gave BYU a little bit of credit. And now Greg McElroy, former Alabama quarterback, former South Lake Carroll quarterback, goes in and says this on ESPN's ranking show yesterday. And he got pushback, but here's what Greg McElroy said about this BYU situation.
I'm a little frustrated. If I'm BYU, I'm really upset. All right, first and foremost, 1, I run the risk of not securing a first-round bye if Boise State ends up in front of me. So the fact that there's only a margin of 3 spots between 12 with Boise State and BYU at 9 is ridiculous. Also, I'm sitting there behind Texas.
It's ridiculous?
I'm sitting there behind Texas. I'm talking about from BYU's perspective. I'm sitting there behind Texas, Penn State. I'm also sitting there behind Tennessee. Texas and Penn State don't have a win against the top 25 team. I have 2. So if I'm BYU, and guess what? I haven't lost. So if I'm BYU, I'm a little frustrated with how this thing has shaken out, and I know it's early, and I know there's plenty still on the table, and they have to go to Utah this week. I get that. But I just feel like them being at 9, 4 spots behind teams that have no wins even close to what they've accomplished and no loss and a couple losses that they don't have, to me would be remarkably frustrating.
I love how Booger McFarland's laughing him out of the building. Like it's this. That's cute for this BYU team, right?
The heart of the problem here is the arrogance of the college football elite, thinking if you're not this brand or this brand or this brand, you're a joke.
Okay, let me ask you this: if it were Utah, who were 8-0 right now, and they had wins over SMU and over who's the other ranked team BYU beat? Kansas State. Where would they be?
9th.
You think they'd be the same spot?
Yes.
You think the Big 12 has taken a hit from a branding perspective because Texas and Oklahoma left the conference?
Let me go through the first teams on
Or is
the
it those
list.
teams in particular that are taking the
Oregon,
brand
Big
hit?
10. Ohio State, Big 10. Georgia, SEC. Miami, ACC, but it's Miami, the Hurricanes. A lot of history there.
A lot of brand.
That is a brand. Texas, SEC. Penn State, Big 10. Tennessee, SEC. Indiana, not a juggernaut, not a powerhouse, but where do they play? Big 10. Big 10 and SEC bias.
Okay.
It's about the haves and the have-nots here.
Well, do you think I care?
And it's about the people in power keeping the power and keeping the money. And guess who's in bed with the SEC? ESPN. Guess who's in bed with the Big 10? Fox. So they use their media machine to make sure that these products can maintain their value, because that's a reason why they have them. Is it's in their best interest that the Big 10 and the SEC look good, get the big games, blah, blah, blah.
The conspiracies.
BYU's dealt with this forever. This is not new. Like BYU fans
That's
that
why
are
it's
our
so hard,
age
because they're in a big...
have that reflex, and I think that's why everyone's like this optimistic pessimism going on right now.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Okay? So even if we do win out, even if we do have this magical year, how are we going to get screwed by the College Football Playoff Committee?
We're in a power conference.
McElroy just told you how.
Right.
BYU can run the table, win the Big 12 championship, and guess who could leap them in the College Football Playoff rankings? Boise State, who's only 3 spots behind them, whose only loss this year is to number 1 by a field goal at the gun. Boise State almost beat Oregon at Autzen. Boise State could lead BYU. If BYU loses one game, forget about it.
Okay,
unless
hold on.
you win the Big 12 championship.
Let me ask you this. From a
And
bigger...
that doesn't guarantee you a top 4 spot if Boise State jumps in front of you, because then they will get one of the top 4 spots.
From a bigger picture, BYU does all this work, and they finally get to a power conference, and they still don't feel like they're in a power conference after yesterday.
That's exactly how this feels, and that's why BYU fans should be pissed today. It's not as much about the number.
See, I'm actually convinced Utah...
It's about the long history.
I bet Utah would have gotten a better number. I bet Utah would have had a better number.
No, they wouldn't have.
100%.
Nope. They would
Jeremy's
have put
with
Indiana
me.
ahead of Utah.
I only have a small sample size, but Jeremy, our producer's with me.
What was Utah preseason? 14, 13?
Yeah, see, again.
That's probably
you know
even though it's
that
not
goes
supposed
into it a little
to.
bit. And on top of it, they had people talking about Utah before the season started. And because of that, not a soul was talking about BYU.
Name the team in the top 10 that Utah would leap based on their schedule this year if they were undefeated.
It would be.
How?
I bet Tennessee and Penn State would be docked because they would look and they'd go, "Hey, look."
They would not put
They'd
them
say,
ahead
"Hey,
of those
look."
brands.
Of course
they would not have.
They would say, "Look,
No.
Utah has a better brand right now than BYU in football." I know that that's insane to say a little bit on the air because of an 8-0 BYU team and a bad Utah team compared to where they've been before.
Well, you
okay?
can give credit for what Utah's done for the last 6-7 years.
That's what I'm saying is, and that's where the recency bias would get there. Utah's logo has popped up more times than not in this college football playoff over the past 3 years.
What win would Utah have currently over a ranked team?
Now,
the answer would be 0.
It would still be 0.
So they would have not by the fault of their own.
Right.
Their resume would be weaker than the resume that we currently see with BYU. You don't think Utah would be docked? You don't think the committee guy would have got up on TV? Well, reason why we had Utah at number 9 is they don't have any top 25 wins. But, sir, you just put Indiana ahead and Penn State and Texas.
Yeah,
they don't have top 25 wins either. Wow. It just means more.
I love how it went from a Southern gentleman to like, see? It went to like 20s gangster guy.
Can you combine both?
And we didn't put BYU in the top 10, see? And if you've got a problem with it, you can come talk to my guy, Tommy. Tommy God.
Can't wait till we get that matchup we've been waiting for. It's going to be a real dynamite between the Oregon Ducks and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
In the Rose Bowl.
See?
The granddaddy of them all.
Yeah, there you go. We have it all figured out. There's the branding. There's the branding. And then at the bottom of all this pile is Army going, what the hell, man?
Nobody cares about Army.
Oh, what about our brand? People are like, well, your brand's different. You can have the USAA insurance. We got to give these rankings going over here. Oh, my gosh. So who should be more pissed right now? Really? Is it
Nobody should be more pissed than BYU because they were more disrespected than anybody in this process.
All right, there you go.
Texas and Penn State and Tennessee right now are cackling while they're smoking their
They're
cigars.
like, I can't believe we got it. I can't believe we're still there. That's crazy. But you know, at the same time, they all go, well, of course, that's the way it's supposed to be. We're in the Big Ten. We're in the SEC.
It just means more.
BYU, are they still in the Sun Belt? Like, that's there are people who are wondering what conference BYU is in this year.
Oh,
in those
BYU from the WAC. That's
I guarantee it. I guarantee it. All right?
Love Steve Young.
We'll take a break here. When we come back, but you heard it right there. Greg McElroy said it. He had Reese Davis and Booger McFarland laughing at him, but no problem. He's standing up for you, Cougar fans. All right. He's called enough BYU games to know. He's called enough BYU games to see it. Mm-hmm. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We got more. When we return, multiple coaches on both sides of this football, BYU and Utah, have ties to each institution. This is a different situation than we've seen in a rivalry game before. There's always been one or two with the crossover. This has got to be the most crossover between coaching staffs ever in this rivalry. If you think the respect isn't there, I've got a story to tell you, and we'll tell when we come back. More to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? Kalani Sitake and the Cougars hope to keep their dream season alive as they head north to the Hill for a showdown against the Utes. Your home for the best coverage of the Holy War is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us on the program. Coming up at 4 o'clock, old friend of the program, Devin Kaufusi. A rare mix of somebody who has played for both teams in the rivalry and has a very, very, very clear-cut set of loyalties now. He's going to join us at 4 o'clock. We'll see what Big Dev Kaufusi has to say for what's going to happen this weekend in this rivalry game, and plus what the rivalry game has turned into now that they're in the same conference. And he played in a couple of Rose Bowl games, of course, for this Utah team, part of both of those Pac-12 championships, and we'll see what his thoughts are now as they move to the Big 10 or the Big 12 and see what the challenges have been so far in the conference. So that's coming up at 4 o'clock. I did want to tell you a story, JJ. The 2018 game, I think that was the last time BYU played. No, that wasn't the last time they played it. No, was it the last? It was.
2018 was the last game at Rice-Eccles Stadium.
16 was Kalani's first year. That was the 20-19 game. That was him halfway on the field when Kai Nakua got a targeting penalty.
Yes.
And it was Taysom Hill didn't make it in on that 2-point conversion. Just phenomenal ending, right? It was one of those that you're like, man, 20-19 is about as good as it gets, right? This was the 2018 game that I'm talking about, though. And this was the last time that that BYU and Utah played even at Rice-Eccles Stadium. That seems like a lifetime ago.
Isn't that crazy? 6 years ago.
Let me tell you how different the rivalry is now from when you and I were covering it when it was Bronco versus Kyle, right? And even Urban and I guess Gary. That was the weirdest mix, right?
There was a lot of years where you had coaches that just didn't care for each other.
Did not care for each other.
Sideline.
And I'm telling you.
And I think the fans followed suit.
Yes. And there was some nastiness, right? When 2018 came around and that game ended as brokenheartedly as you can with that BYU team, And I was on the field for Suspender Man harassing Bronco Mendenhall.
So was I.
Those were very awkward moments, right? And when those teams lost, they walked straight out to the bus. I remember standing on the field waiting to get some post-game stuff going, and we were having some – I was chatting with another reporter. And we knew that Kalani's presser – I mean, it had just gotten done. I needed to go do some other stuff. But the coaching staffs on both sides, okay, guys who know each other very well, Kalani came out of the locker room. The bus hadn't left Rice-Eccles Stadium yet. They're all loading up. The coaching staffs came out, and the amount of pushing and shoving and laughing – and where are you going for Thanksgiving discussions. These are guys who have spent hours together, and no more so than this year. The crossover of guys who were on that staff, by the way, back in 2018, shoving Kalani around and giving him the noogies on the sideline, and these guys all laughing and hugging each other because the competition is one thing, and if you think Kalani didn't want to win that game, I mean, just go back to 2 hours before that when he was flying off the handle. This rivalry game got so much better when that was the post-game interaction with coaches versus what it was prior to that. We're lucky now that these two coaching staffs, and some people will be like, I don't like that they like each other. They shouldn't like each other. That's an impossibility. These guys want to win these games probably more because of who's on the other sideline.
100%.
The same way that you want to beat your freaking older brother at backyard basketball when you're growing up. Do you hate that guy? No, you'll say it in that moment. But there's a reason that you guys, blood's thicker than water, right? And in football terms, these guys are family. I mean, how many shots were given to one another in this profession? These guys who are now, in a lot of cases, multimillionaires and have become successful at their craft because somebody on the other sideline gave the other guy a shot, right? There's an eternal gratitude that these guys have for one another and a ton of respect. And you know what else? They freaking like each other. Boo-hoo, right? I can't believe they like each other. But that's probably what makes, and I would argue it actually makes the rivalry better in that sense because it's not just like, hey, I want to beat Bronco because we don't get along very well. It's I want to beat Kyle because we know each other well, and it's become a different chess match. And that, to me, makes a better rivalry.
These guys want to earn the respect of a Kyle Whittingham, right? They're all on the same coaching tree. They've all been through battles together. Think about how that must bond some guys that have been through the ups and downs together. They've been through tough times. They've been through the good times. They share all those memories and those history. You're going to just sweep that under the rug or just like pretend it doesn't exist out of convenience because it's a rivalry game and you're supposed to hate each other? You're not going to do that.
No, never.
You're not going to do that. And I think this makes college football in this state better because you have these coaches who have been here. They've played at Utah or BYU, and they've coached at BYU or Utah. Like, that's healthy. That's how this is supposed to work. These programs are supposed to churn out great players and coaches that continue to play and coach. And if a younger player ends his career and he goes on to coach, and he can come back and be a great coach 10, 15, 20 years later, and he keeps this great college football environment going in the state, that's how this is supposed to work. So I love the fact that you've got all of these coaches on both staffs who have a long history on both sides. I think outside of Morgan Scalley and Sharif Shah, who've been at Utah forever, all these other guys like Kalani, Jay Hill, Aaron Roderick, Kyle Whittingham, they've been at both places.
Yeah.
I probably left somebody out there.
Sione Pua, yeah.
Yeah, Sione's another good one. They've been at both places. Harvey Youngett was recruited by Utah and BYU.
Yeah.
Like, he knows these coaches. He knows guys on both sides. And even those guys I mentioned at Utah, Morgan and Sharif, they coached with Jay Hill and Aaron Roderick and Kalani.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, these guys are family. But they're on opposite sides.
For sure.
But this is what it all should be like with the rivalry.
So
we should like you're saying, all fans, you should want to. If you're a Utah fan, you want nothing more than to be BYU, and same on the other side. But the hate thing and the obsession with the hate thing, is that healthy? Probably not.
No, you
can still love your team and want them to kick the other team's butt, but you don't have to hate the other people.
You've burned too many rivalry calories for the wrong reasons, I think, in this market.
That's
so
a
many
great
times.
way to put it.
Like there is the energy spent on the periphery of what this rivalry actually started to become between 2006 and 2016.
There were some elements of it, if I'm being honest, from our perspective, that got a little bit exhausting.
It was, yeah. And honestly, there's
and
some,
we felt a lot of that from fans.
There was a lot of fatigue of covering this game. It's only kind of now coming back around. One, because of what it feels like as a conference matchup now. That was a huge part of it. And also because, Utah having the year that they're having, notwithstanding, this is the best that football has been from a quality perspective in this state in its entire history. Right?
We've never had two power teams.
Right. And we've
state.
never seen the assembly of this much talent. And you could argue and say, well, look at the 96 team, look for BYU. Oh, look at Utah went to the Cam Rising 2021 to 2022. You can't beat it. Undefeated Utah 2004, 2008. I'm still telling you, what made those teams so great is that despite the fact that they had less talent than all the teams they were facing in the offseason, they still accomplished what they did. Now, they're starting to get on par with the recruiting levels that will take you to another level. And that makes the football much funner to watch, right? It makes it more exciting. And the athletes at other schools are getting better too. The game has been elevated across the entire sport. But let's get to what Jay Hill said this week.
I love this. This is really fascinating audio.
So Jay Hill obviously has ties to the University of Utah and now to BYU, of course, as a defensive coordinator. I don't know how long.
He played at Utah.
Yeah.
And he
coached there for a long
transferred from Rick
time.
Scholars to Utah.
Yep.
He's from Utah. He's from Lehigh. Went to Lehigh High School. He is a Utah guy.
And he is having a career year now at BYU as a defensive coordinator because of the turnaround that they've had on the defensive side of the football. Here's what he says about the experiences that he had at his time at Utah and now that he's at BYU.
The Utah program is super special to me, having played there and coached so long with Coach Whittingham and a lot of the coaches up there. And now I'm at BYU, and I love this program, and I love this institution. I love what these players represent, and I think it's okay to have feelings that way for both sides.
It's hard for us to imagine because none of us have had to be in that situation, right?
How many of you listening right now agree with Jay Hill? Dead serious. Serious question. If you're listening right now, do you agree with that?
I have love for both institutions. It's
Are
so
you
weird.
okay with that?
It's so weird to hear. But none of us have been asked to earn a 6-figure or 7-figure salary at either one of these schools, which these guys have all had to figure out. The allegiances are not just about the place where you played football. Those allegiances, this, will go away very quickly for some of these guys. Some people walk out of that program, and the very first day they're out of it, they're like, I won't miss it at all. Mm-hmm. We've known guys like this. And there are guys who will never, they'll die on that sword of never, it's the blue zone, it's not the red zone, right? Mm-hmm. It's a blue light, not a red light.
Right.
There are those insane, guys who will talk like that. Most of the time, they're not former players, though. It's the fanatic, right? It's that fan that's beyond a fan. Here's what Jay Hill said about, of course, the fact that they're going to know one another, and that doesn't really matter in a week like this because there's not an advantage one team to the other.
I don't know that it helps or hinders, but it's fun. I think there's some familiarity on both sides of this, that they understand us and we understand them. I think that adds to the game and it makes it more fun. Yeah, it's still going to come down to when the ball's kicked off, whoever plays the best and executes the best is going to have the best chance to win the game.
Okay. Now the one that everybody really wants to know and everybody wanted to ask a ton this week. How about the part where, set aside the fact that you were the head coach at Weber State for a while, what about the transition of being a Utah man to coaching at BYU? Here's what he said.
It was awkward at first, and then, like I say, when you put your heart and soul into a job and these players and the administration and everything that goes on here, then it's another game to us right now, and it's a job that we have to do, and I'm excited for the matchup, and I'm excited for the familiarity that there is in this game. So I think it all adds to the excitement and fun of it.
If your job and your livelihood and taking care of your family was on the line, which it is for these guys every year, your loyalties would shift even temporarily on a very real basis.
And anybody listening right now that says otherwise, you're lying.
Yeah.
Because here's a scenario. You work at Microsoft. and you love Microsoft, and you love everything about Microsoft, you think Microsoft has the best products.
You can't believe how awful
blah,
Apple
blah.
is and how low level their operating system is, and you're this elitist over at Microsoft.
But suddenly some new boss comes into Microsoft and fires you. And now you're unemployed. You have no way to feed your family. But there's an opportunity that comes up at Apple.
But hate those guys.
There's an opportunity to go to Apple. Maybe it's not the same kind of role you had. Maybe you're making a little bit less, but they got the job. Where are your loyalties now? You're an Apple guy because you need to feed family. So it's different. It's different. So you can't criticize. It totally makes sense. And Jay's right. You can, if you've worked for both programs and you have reason to, like if you're listening right now and you went to both schools and you love both schools, then go ahead and love both schools.
Right.
Like Mr. Fan out there telling people how to fan, saying you can't like both or whatever. Whatever. Everyone's circumstances are different. And because this game has such a rich, long history, and there's so much crossover, not just with coaches and players, but all you listening, maybe you went to both schools. Maybe you went to one school, but you actually wanted to go to the other one. We know that happens a lot. Whatever.
Look, strictly
cheer
speaking,
for your fan. Cheer for your team.
If we're going to do this, if we're going to do the metaphors of the working or the brands or whatever, Utah has been in bed with Pepsi since 2017, right?
They have?
They're a Pepsi school.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Utah, look, Mountain Dews at the games, Diet Mountain Dew.
You're right. I haven't even thought about it.
No, they're a Pepsi school. And BYU's a Coke school. And
Since
you know what?
when?
No, I mean like a Coca-Cola brand, right? Even if it was caffeine-free. But now it's not. I don't know what year
We're past that, right?
I don't remember what year they made this change. What I'm saying is this. How many Utah fans are at dinner some nights and they go, Pepsi okay?
I tell you what.
And you look at them and you want to murder the server when they say that. Like your allegiances are they're all over the place. Just like when people are like, oh, I'm an Under Armour guy now. It's like, no, you are not. Just because Utah's wearing the Under Armour gear does not mean you're married to that brand or Pepsi or whatever. You can change those allegiances. I get it. And these guys are just trying to freaking work. And you know what? Jay Hill's
trying to win.
Jay Hill's on the cusp of being not a $1 million a year coordinator. He's on the cusp of being a $5 or $6 million a year head coach at the power level, at the type of job that he's doing. Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
So
he should be a head coach somewhere. He should not be a coordinator.
This is where
he's been a head coach.
Right.
He did the impossible at Weber State. He turned Weber State into a winner.
Right.
By the way, when BYU lifted that caffeine ban in the press box, and I cracked open that Diet Coke for the first time.
Yeah.
Spiritual experience.
Oh, it was?
Oh, for sure.
It wasn't just there. The weird places in the Wilkinson Center when people were drinking Coke Zeros unabated by the honor code. The honor code. As if that ever stopped anybody from drinking Coke. They just didn't sell it on campus. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We got more to go. Our program, as always, one of the great partnerships we have is with Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals. They bring us the Hercules Hero of the Week. What does that do? Every Thursday, we read off the nomination of an amazing person who embodies the youth sports volunteerism that we have in this community. If you know somebody who's an excellent youth sports volunteer in your neighborhood and they don't get the recognition with the pay, obviously, they just spend their time and they help these kids. They help your kid. They help our communities grow with the youth sports programs. Nominate them today for the Hercules Hero of the Week. KSLSports.com/contest. That's KSLSports.com/contest. And we'll enter you to win there, and we'll read off those winners every week, and then we'll also give them a prize from Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals. All right, we'll take a break. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. More to go around the corner. A Would You Rather? Stay here.
Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Keary, Jeremiah Jensen. Was that Eric Gagne that just showed up on the screen there? I haven't seen that guy in a while. Eric Gagne. Let me see here. Would you rather goes like this. First of all, I want to remind you, Hans and Scotty for their Ute preview show are going to be at Tim Daly Nissan, Southtown, tomorrow. 11155 South Jordan Gateway in South Jordan. Think Nissan, think Tim Daly, Southtown. There you go. All right. Pro Football Hall of Fame or the College Football Hall of Fame?
Pro football.
College Football Hall of Fame is kind of interesting because it's a pretty elite group. Do they still make it to where they're like, you need to graduate? Is that one of their hallmarks now? Wasn't that their whole thing? They're like, hey, Jim McMahon, we're not letting you in until you get all those credits from BYU. Remember that whole thing?
Yeah. He did it.
He didn't. I just wonder, like, if they still do those, if they still have that as a hurdle to clear. It's a pretty elite group in College Football Hall of Fame, but my heavens, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the gold jacket,
It's the best of the best.
the bust made by the guy down in Springville. Come on.
Blair Buswell.
Yeah. So I have to go Pro Football Hall of Fame. Plus that big dude who's on the committee who knocks on your door.
The old AFL commissioner,
6'10",
Mr. Baker.
6'10", Emerald from the Cooking Network. That's what it looks like. All right. Be in BYU's position in the first college football playoff rankings or a brand name just lurking outside of the top 10?
BYU's position.
Yeah, undefeated, man.
Yeah, because you control your own destiny. The others don't.
That's true.
That's
telling you
the difference for me.
What's crazy for me
BYU's
is
not going to
this.
get the benefit of the doubt that
Okay.
those other teams going to get, but
Penn State won't sniff the Big Ten championship game.
no.
But they're going to go 11-1, and they'll be they'll be the number 5 seed.
They're going to be in the playoff.
You know what I mean? Like being a pretty middle of the road.
They're not going to lose again.
Right. Their schedule is terrible the rest of the way. It's so bad. We'll see what James Franklin and his guys can do. All right. We will take a break here. We'll come back. When we do, Devin Kaufusi, one of the Players Club alumni on this program, guy who we got to speak with every week for 2 years during the football seasons, and had changed allegiances from BYU, playing at BYU, to playing at Utah, winning 2 Pac-12 championships with the Utes. And we'll talk with Devin Kaufusi coming up, see how everything's going, see where his thoughts are with this team currently and the rivalry overall. Maybe make him make a prediction as well for Saturday. Stay with us, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? It's another Holy War showdown as Kyle Whittingham and the Utes square off against the Cougars in Rice-Eccles Stadium. Your home for the best coverage of the Holy War is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome on in, everybody. It's JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Keary, Jeremiah Jensen. Oh, JJ, aren't you glad you're not wearing your TV outfit today? That's good.
It's nice. Yeah, you see what I'm wearing with pride.
Old school Denver Broncos, like the horse that's blowing the smoke out of his nose.
Yep.
Like you're blowing smoke to your fans about how good your team is this year.
I thought it was snot when I was a kid.
Listen, that would have been a little bit more intimidating. I love it. All right, so we're talking, of course, a lot getting ready this week. JJ, you've covered this rivalry for 20 years.
Yes, sir.
Plus. I've done, I think 2006 was the first time I was on a field with a media credential for Beck to Harline up at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Somebody who's been around the rivalry even longer than both of us. His name is Devin Kaufusi, one of our alum members of the Players Club. What's going on, Devin Kaufusi?
Yo, happy to be on the call.
Look at you, dude. You are so happy to be on. Listen, like every week that we would have you on during the 2 seasons that you were playing, it was like a breakdown of how awesome everything is. There were a handful of losses, of course, over those 2 years to talk about, but Pac-12 championships and Rose Bowl appearances. And you ended your career as a Ute after beginning it as a BYU Cougar. So you're one of those rare guys that's been on both sides of this one. Where's your head in a year now that you've had a couple of years to digest being out of the game and not inside the locker room in either one of these places?
Yeah, it's life outside of balls is extremely different, and so it's kind of like I lose all the aura powers and become a normal, real person. And so it's been really fun though, being the fan on the sideline, and so I'm able to get in some big arguments with my brothers back and forth when it comes to the ball, especially this season with the big Holy War finally coming here this weekend.
What is that dynamic like in your household? There's a lot of people that love this rivalry, and a lot of fans are splitting their homes. But, man, at your home, you not just it's like from a fan perspective, but all of you played in this game. How and on different teams, how does that dynamic play out in your household?
I mean, I'd say football, and especially this rivalry, is the whole epitome, I guess, of the Kaufusi household in football. It all kind of comes around this game, especially at my house. You know, my dad starting his coaching career up at the U, and then switching over to BYU, and then all of us attending BYU, and then me leaving. It's been very different. This year it's just been absolutely crazy with the 8-0 run BYU's been having. So it's been really, really exciting to follow them. My brothers let me know all about it, of course. and then with Utah, you know, having their lumps and figuring out their way, it's all coming down to a good matchup.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that because, you know, watching it from the outside looking in, what are the things you're looking at and you're going, oh, my goodness, like, what do you look so off right now with this Utah team who's lost 4 in a row?
Man, I'd say just in comparison of, you know, having playing through some lumps as well. Sometimes it takes finding a way to win again. Even though the offense is looking different, playbook maybe look different, personnel looks different. You just got to find a way to win. 4 in a row is absolutely tough and so rare. That's happened, but you know what? That's the hand and we're given in the situation we're in. The boys just got to be able to lean on each other, you know, make it about their team and getting a team win together. Honestly, that's all I can really think about.
Yeah, you look at the Utah quarterback situation. I mean, it's pretty tough to ask a true freshman to come in there and do the things that he did. And it's obvious this program really misses Cam Rising. I know you're close with Cam, and you won a lot of games with Cam in the locker room. What are they missing that Cam brought to the table as a quarterback?
I think it's the confidence that you get with a vet quarterback. You know, it's such a unique position in all sports, let alone in the sport of football and in college football, the landscape we're in today. And so when you're able to have a vetted quarterback that's won a lot of tough games and that has been in tough situations, you know, has ridden the highs, but, you know, has also persevered through the lows. It just sets a tone and confidence for the rest of the team.
Devin, as you kind of now have seen the outside, like I said, and kind of looking in on this thing, but you have friends who are still on this roster too. How much you communicate with guys who are on the team now, who you've been in that locker room with, and what are they telling you about kind of where the team's head is at right now going into this BYU game?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, you know, talking with the fellas, it's been a tough couple of weeks, but with the joy of being in the Big 12 conference is seeing BYU again. So, although there's been some tough losses, a rival game is the games you're going to remember as a college athlete. You're always going to remember those rivalry games. And you're always going to remember just the atmosphere and definitely the outcome. And it's going to be with you for the rest of your life, that memory as a college athlete.
You mentioned just you grew up in this rivalry, and this game means a lot to your family. When you were growing up, what were the most influential moments in the rivalry? Those moments that really stand out to you that are really burned into your memory?
Oh, man, when it comes to the rivalry, I used to do everything I could in my power growing up as a BYU fan to just have BYU win. And so I was there. Let's see, some of the earliest memories was I was there for a Harleen as well. I remember praying my guts out with my eyes closed on that play.
So BYU fans have you to thank.
Yes, BYU has to be thanked. Yes. I was bundled up like crazy. I was cold as it gets in ride cycles. So I remember back to Harleen was huge. Fourth and 18 from, Hall to Collie was massive. And then the funny part, though, as all us Kaufusi boys, we're all losers in this holy war, though. Even though we switched from different sides,
That's true.
we're all losers in it. And so even in I think some basketball, I'm trying to think, all of us playing. And then we even last even longer because even Britton Covey's beating us in the holy war, and then I've actually joined teams with them. And so that's kind of the funny side of it too, how long the holy war has been around. But as well as, Vegas Bowl was a big one. I remember being on my mission, and that was my brother's senior year, and hearing the whole Vegas Bowl go down back in 2016, 2017, 15, yeah. So huge, uncles, cousins have played through. It's really fun for everyone in the state. So everybody knows somebody playing on one side or the other, or has known someone. So it keeps everyone involved, and it keeps the state of Utah alive.
Yeah, we speak with Connor Pay every week on the BYU side of things, and he was like, look, I have a lot of guys I love up there, which means I hate losing to them more than anything. And I thought, you know what, that probably resonates with a lot of people. And the coaching staffs are so intermingled now too. I would think that people think, oh, it's too friendly now. And I think, no. I think the fact that the two coaching staffs know each other so well and have coached at one other place and have been at the other side, and they know each other very well. Like, to me, that feels like a recipe for, oh, no, we actually want to beat these guys even more because we know them so well.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. It's a lot of ties there, especially coming off a bye week, the extra week to prepare. It's going to be, I think it's going to be one of the better rivalry games that we've seen in a while, especially just because of the absence and the hit and miss over the past couple of years we've had, and as well as just, the rivalry knows each other, and so it's gonna be a good game plan on both sides.
You played recently, so you're qualified to answer my question that I have next. It's about NIL. How does NIL in this new world we live in, and all the transfers and the roster turnover and everything, how does that impact the rivalry? Because it seems like there's so many players each and every year that are just here for a year or they're brand new. How difficult is it to get those guys up to speed? And how difficult was it for you in 2021 for a lot of your teammates who were new to understand how big this game was?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a different looking rivalry, especially with the NIL, and the reality of a college athlete can after each season go to another college. And I remember when we lost. We came down and lost when I was at Utah. Came down and lost last time we had the Holy War. It was exactly that reason. Just talking about having the guys I've been around or the in-state guys talk about this rivalry because there's a lot of rich history and there's a lot of emotion that goes into the game, and it's tough for the overlapping out-of-state guys or just passing through. And so I think with the NIL, it's affected I think locker room culture a ton, and team unity a ton in college football and moving forward. And so I think the rivalries will also suffer with the NIL, just with the personnel changes year in and year out.
In that same vein, you were in the Utah locker room recently. How is NIL impacting that program and the dynamic in the locker room that you've seen that you can share with us? Do you think it's having a negative or a positive impact on the program's culture, which has always been very well defined under Kyle Whittingham?
Yeah, I think that was the main worry up at Utah, being so culturally rich and unique and strong, was having something like NIL come in and throw the whole culture off. But I think they're just facing anything any other college team is facing, just with problems or blessings with there's money and there's contracts, and then you got players come in and go in, and things being fulfilled. I think it's been a great blessing for guys. As you know, we've seen a lot of injuries go in and out of the program, and so I think it's still very wild west. But I think some regulations will happen moving forward, and hopefully just bigger and better football comes out of it.
Missed opportunity for a bet between Salt Lake City's mayor, Aaron Mendenhall, and Provo's mayor, Michelle Kaufusi. Big missed opportunity. Yeah. I think the problem with that is that there's not really anybody who's going to be able to talk to your mom about football and be at that level. You know what I mean? She's been around it too long. How much of a football fan is your mom, having a husband for a coach and sons as players her entire life, basically?
Man, honestly, she's a Cougarette, so she honestly loves being the cheerleader, so to say. And my dad likes it too because he doesn't have to hear a second opinion. So my mom's, my mom's always been about the mom side of it, supporting and everything too. She just wants everyone to be safe, knowing how crazy these rivalry games go.
Well, you know who wouldn't be safe if that happened is Mayor Mendenhall.
Oh, yeah.
Because Mayor Kaufusi would absolutely shred Mayor Mendenhall.
Oh, yeah.
I have no doubt about that.
Oh, for sure.
She's tough. We all try to keep up with her. So
my money's on Mayor Kaufusi for sure.
Absolutely.
Me too.
I look at some key matchups in this game as we kind of break down this game a little bit, and you're qualified again to answer this. Utah's defense, I think they played great this year. And I've made that case on the show that, if the offense simply scored 24 points per game, they'd be 7-1 right now. And if they scored 28 points per game, they'd be 8-0. But the offense hasn't done their job. But the Utah defense could have a big factor in the game on Saturday. What does that defense have to do, though? And I'm sure you've watched a lot of BYU as well. What does that Utah defense need to do against that BYU offense that's really playing well right now?
Man, I think it's everyone's executing their assignment, doing their 111th, and then just trusting each other. Big rivalry game. Everyone's going to be playing really hard. So fundamentals, sure tackling we got to see out of the Utah defense. Gang tackling, everyone's swarming there. I'm always super proud of the Utah defense. You're seeing the impressive BYU offense and bounce back they've had from last year has been great to watch as well. I still believe Utah's defense will match up super strong and will come play their guts out for this game. And when it comes down to it, if they can't score, they can't win. And so the Utes got their work cut out. But I love having a defensive game ahead of me up at Rice Eccles, especially a rivalry game. So everything's primed for a good time.
Give us your thoughts then. Let's get a quasi prediction from Devin Kaufusi. You've played in this rivalry. You lost in 2021, but you've certainly seen this Utah team bounce back from hardships, and you've also seen them accomplish amazing things. How does Utah perform against BYU hosting them up at Rice Eccles this weekend?
I think it goes down. It goes down as 24-21 Utes. That's my prediction.
Okay, write it down, Jeremy. Write it down. We're getting all of our predictions here.
See, the 24 points thing again.
Okay.
If they just scored 24 points, they're going to win.
There it is.
Yes.
Devin, how's life been after football, though? What have you been up to? How have things been?
Man, I've just been trying to stay busy. It's very different. I figured, it's not like I'm a basketball player that got done playing basketball or a tennis player that can, continue to play the sports. I realized I can't go play one-on-one run block in the park with somebody. So
you could, but it'd be kind of weird, right?
It'd be very strange.
Yeah, it'd be kind of weird, kind of strange. But back in Utah, excited for ski season ahead. So I've been able to add that into my winter activities now that I'm not playing ball. Other than that, trying to pick up golf, just like any other walk-up athlete, right? So
there you go. Doing the
good luck with that.
Doing the grown-up thing.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. All right, Devin, we appreciate you taking some minutes here, man. We always love catching up with you and getting the breakdown here. And let's do this more often than just every couple of years when the rivalry fires up, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
There you go.
Thanks for having me on.
Devin, appreciate
Thanks,
it, man. All right, have fun this weekend. Devin Kaufusi. Utah Ute? Question mark? BYU Cougar? Question mark?
What a strange dynamic, man. It just shows you the last segment we got talking about the coaches on both sides. Look, Devin made a business decision that probably ruffled the feathers in his family, right?
So I remember.
But you got to go do what's best for you.
Yeah.
And the rivalry has created this dynamic, not just with coaching staffs and players, but with families.
Do you remember? So we got Devin on that first year he was on as a Utah player in our players club. He was the very first Utah player that we had. And we were like, this will be interesting. Because he was on that other sideline last year. And there was no question where his loyalty was. It was with Utah immediately. Felt like he was accepted there, loved there immediately, right? And there were some like weird feelings from when he left BYU. And I remember when he came on the show and he was like, and we're like, oh, you probably have to get rid of all your BYU stuff. And he goes, no, I actually gave it all away. I have 0 BYU things in my closet. And we were like, wait, really? He goes, I gave it all away.
That's nice Nike stuff.
That's what I said.
I don't know if I'd give it away.
Isn't there some like
we
generic?
all have that stuff in the back of our closet that we say we're going to wear someday again.
Right.
When
generic
we lose the weight.
Heather Gray stuff, just like, please. But yeah, he was like, I'm all in. I'm all in on Utah. And you know what? Guess who was front and center holding up those Pac-12 championship trophies? Devin Kaufusi, man.
Yeah, he was.
And that's something that he would have never gotten to BYU. And we do this Would You Rather all the time. Would you rather win a big
We should have done one with him there.
Pac-12 championship or beat BYU in your rivalry? And I already know his answer.
Yeah.
Like getting those rose petals rained down on you at the Pac-12 championship game, after they beat Oregon the first year and then, my goodness, to beat USC the second year. That's it's crazy. It's a weird college football and football in general brings weird travel partners, over the years.
No doubt. And
Strange
you know what?
bedfellows, yes.
Nobody gets into sports to win a game. You get into sports to win a championship. So as big as a rivalry game is, it is just a game.
Yes.
And you want to win a championship. And it's interesting because there is a team this year in this game that has a chance to win a championship.
You know what he does, though? He still says "we" about everything Utah. You know where his loyalties are.
He's still, yeah.
You know where his loyalties are. He hasn't done the whole I've become more of a middle of the road guy.
He's not an objective journalist.
He probably still doesn't have any BYU gear. We'll have to see. His mom has maybe have gifted him some things. So there you go. All right. We'll take a break here. We'll come back. We've got tons more on the program. Our show, as always, brought to you by the good folks at the Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and now Linden. Kia, Doug Smith Kia in Linden, a brand new shop there. Go check it out. Nobody knows service like Doug, but if it's the Kia, Chevy, Dodge, Subaru, Jeep, Ram, all of it, they'll take care of you at the Doug Smith family of dealerships. Hey, Doug. We'll come back. We've got more to go. When we return, let's have a couple. By the way, at the 5 o'clock hour, top of 5, we're going to go on the other side of things. David Nixon going to join us on the program, former BYU defender and, maybe the best-looking current BYU alum on TV, right?
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. McCann.
Good hair. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Spencer and Jerem.
Yeah, but.
Sorry, Blaine Fowler.
It's okay. It's okay. All right, we'll talk to Dave Nixon at 5 o'clock, get his thoughts on this rivalry game. Not that he's probably had to say anything about it this week, right? We've got more to go. Stay with us, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? Fesi Sitake and the Cougars hope to keep their dream season alive as they head north to the Hill for a showdown against the Utes. Your home for the best coverage of the Holy War is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Okay. So we've all heard the ads now. So we went to the website, all right? And I think that it's pretty interesting because, look, Taylor Randall, when he says, dude, I'm a Utah Ute through and through, he's dead freaking serious, right? And I think that it's kind of interesting because for sure, I'm looking at it. You did the same thing. We went to it looks normal for me over here, so I'm fine with it. But I've got the guidelines to be to how to rival right, how to do the rivalry right.
What is a rural juror?
Rural juror. How to rivalry right. Okay, how to rival right. The thing is that Shane Reese and Taylor Randall, like, legitimately, there were times that we've followed this rivalry that you could have presidents at the school that kind of did that to the rivalry game.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not the case now. I think Taylor Randall and Shane Reese are legitimately two of the biggest fans that you could find of the two teams that they are the presidents of. Okay? So them doing that ad makes sense. I think we could have done a little bit of a better job. Right? I love it. I love the thing. But are we that worried about what's going to be happening? I'm going to go. Okay, so I'm at the rivalright.org. Okay, that's the website where we see these two university presidents kind of coming together on this thing. Okay, how to rival right. Okay, let me give you true or false. True or false? You're rivaling right when you make it personal.
False.
Yeah, false. You can't do that.
Oh, good. I answered it right.
And I don't like you.
You rival right, true or false, when you're being competitive.
True.
Okay, true. Yes, that's the green light. This feels like a bad HR training video, doesn't it? Like,
Let's cut to the point. What can I not do? What's off limits?
Okay, how can
Can I pour beer on the opposing team's quarterback's family?
honk? No, that's the one that they have in the HR video where they're all, Bob chose to pour beer on the family next to him that has BYU gear on. Is Bob being A, good employee, B, bad example of how employees should act? And you're like, skip me to the end quiz on this HR situation.
I can't call the other team a swear word that starts with the letter B in a public forum?
True or false? You rival right if you're being rude.
That was a masterpiece of dog shit.
False.
Is it okay to tell the opposing team that they're going to pump your gas someday?
Hey, be rude is all-encompassing, all right? It's the nicest way to say talk poop, yes, all right?
Is it okay to say that you...
gonna lose it, They so poo-poo.
They so poo-poo. Now, that's actually, I feel like that's in the respectful and competitive.
Where do we... This is interesting. This is a tough case.
It's a great... Now, listen, this is what the Supreme Court, this is what they argue about every year, this kind of stuff.
He edited himself.
Okay, so be respectful. Is they so poo-poo respectful? It's not like overly ridiculously disrespectful.
I'm going to say he's rivaling right.
Is he being competitive?
Yes.
Is he keeping it lighthearted?
Yes.
These are all major points as to how they say to rival right.
Tyler Huntley ushering in a new era of the rivalry. Rivaling right.
We never gonna lose it, They so poo-poo.
They so poo-poo.
Y'all can tweet that.
Y'all can tweet that.
Oh, I did, Tyler. I did.
Isn't that funny when you hear somebody say tweet now? You're like, what is this, 2019?
Oh, Twitter. Remember that?
Tweeting? Excuse you? So now, think about Max Hall. Making it personal, getting toxic, and being rude. He hits all the boxes on how to not rival.
How about Austin Collie?
Now, hold on a minute.
Living right on and off the field. That's the reason they won.
I think it doesn't land really in any category. That one's its own special category.
Oh, I think I think some fans on the Utah side would say that falls on
keeping it. Well, I would not say that's keeping it lighthearted. That's a bit heavy.
Suggesting the Lord wants one team to win and the other to lose.
So you got that wasn't keeping it lighthearted. That was very heavy. All right, being competitive, that ticks the boxes, I guess. And then being respectful, that kind of went in a different direction. Have we talked at all? By the way, I'm just saying, I'm bringing it up. Shane Reese and Taylor Randall, like I said, I think the reason that these two schools are in good hands right now is that they have presidents at the top who are sitting in these meetings who are sports fans. That makes a huge difference.
It does.
Does BYU get a $35 million contract for Kevin Young if Shane Reese doesn't sign off on it? No. Does Merrill J. Bateman sign off on a $7 million a year contract for Kevin Young? I only say that because he's the guy who signed my diploma.
You know the answer.
The answer is no. And even Cecil Samuelson, who, by the way, had his foot in both places.
Again, yes.
Yeah. That guy loved sports, though. Mm-hmm. Like, we caught him at everything, right?
He was always there.
Front and center at football
Marion
and basketball
Center,
games.
LaVell
Yes.
Stadium, he was always
He
there.
would go to the bowl games on the road. He would go to the Notre Dame games on the road. He would go to the West Coast Conference at the Orleans Arena. He was there.
I wonder if we went bowling at the Orleans.
There's a Chinese restaurant in the Orleans.
Yeah.
That is actually phenomenal. It's called Ping Pang Pong. I don't love the name of it.
Did you just make that up?
No, I did not. Look it up. Ping Pang Pong. And it's like legit. The ladies
You
do
made
not.
that up.
Actually, you know what? It's in the place next to it. What's it? Gold Coast. It's at Gold Coast. Because we stayed at Gold Coast one year. That's right next to the Orleans. And Ping Pang Pong, phenomenal because it's like, it's not Chinese food if you're for the faint of heart. Okay? This is like the chicken's feet that are like sauteed in soy sauce, that kind of stuff.
It's at the Gold Coast Hotel.
I told
Casino.
you, and it's highly rated, my friend. It's not real cheap either, but I'm telling you. Yeah. Ping Pang Pong. Real Chinese restaurant at the Gold Coast. All right. I got off pace. I just wanted to bring that up. I wanted to bring up.
I think we're all clear now.
That the two,
what it means to rival right.
Right. And I think that we can all take a little poke at again, we all have to do the HR training at every office, and it can get relatively cheesy sometimes, but we know the basics. Okay?
Toughness, sacrifice, and passion.
Those are the things that are part of a big rivalry.
Where does Jalen Glover rank on the rival right scale?
Okay, now hold on. You would get a lot of people who said that it doesn't check the box of being respectful, right? Because of the curse words. Is it competitive? Yes. I would even say that the manner that he said it was pretty lighthearted. It wasn't like a WWE, I'm going to go out there, right? It was like, screw him.
It was a little casual.
Right? Yes. Lighthearted. I'd say lighthearted.
But it was profanity.
It was profanity, so it checks. If you get one of those wrong, you're automatically not rivaling right, okay? One strike and you're out on that one. But I will say, we all know people who've rivaled wrong. What? We've all known
Until this website was launched, I had no idea you could rival any other way.
Hey, I get it. The thing is that I think that right now, the rivalry's in a good place. I think this was preemptively like, hey, let's make sure we tell fans. Now, if fans are going to be crap fans, there's no website you can send them to that ends in .org that they're going to give two craps about, right? Am I wrong?
No.
So bad fans are going to be bad fans regardless of the messaging that even their own school will come out and go, hey, you guys, let's be a little bit more respectful, right? You get like the school. You'd have Taylor Randall roll out there and go, hey, Utah fans, like, let's be respectful. People are like, boo, get this guy out of here. You would definitely have that. Same thing. BYU, you're not going to wrangle an entire student section to have them be respectful, lighthearted, and competitive. You can't do it. It's a freaking student section. You think the Muss is playing along with any of those rules? No. But that's kind of what we like, to be honest. Do you think that? I think they're like, exceptions to this are the student section. Like, that's a place where our jurisdiction, we don't have the ability to police that at that level. We will arrest people for doing things that are illegal, but being disrespectful in the rivalry, I can't help you there. Our badges are no good there. Remember that time when it was on one of those movies, like Tombstone maybe, where like whatever sheriff showed up, they just shot that guy, right? They just, oh, he's wearing a sheriff's badge, shoot him, boom, because no respecter of the law, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a level of, I don't know. We try to guess on what it is. There really is there's a 10% of the fans who ruin it for the rest of all of us, because it's the vocal minority of idiots on both sides, right? And I'll be honest, the fan bases of each one of those places actually don't like those 10% that are their fans on that side.
No,
either.
they don't. They're embarrassed by it.
So,
which is why a lot of people, I think, started to want the game to go away, because they were tired of the nonsense that came along with it.
That's interesting you say that. Like, you get embarrassed by how your fans are acting, and then you go, I hate this rivalry. You know why? Because I'm embarrassed by our stupid fans. There has been a lot of that over the years. And that's why we encourage you to take your vitriol to Jazz games. And the Utah Hockey Club. Rivalry right. Rival right, dudes. Come on, man.
Save your energy for a shoey at a Utah Hockey Club
I'm trying to figure out what other things are. So they're doing a hunger drive, too.
Can you run on the field with suspenders in Rival right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Getting Coach Bear's face. I don't think Bear. You remember how close Bronco came?
I was standing right there.
I mean, he stopped.
And he stared him down for.
He gave it a thought.
Felt like 30 seconds.
Gave
Probably
it a
was
thought.
only 5, but
He gave it a thought. There was also a guy. You remember the guy that was wearing a barrel?
Yes.
He was also on the field. And I would go, what is this guy doing?
I think that was peak rivalry. What was that? 2012, 13?
No. Oh yeah, when was that? 16? No,
it wasn't that late.
No, because that was Kalani's.
I
bet it was 14.
It was when the fans ran on the field.
Yeah.
The missed field goals.
I think it was 2014. I want to say no, because that was at BYU. Gosh darn it!
It was in 2012.
It was 12? That's how long ago that was?
That was the 2012
Gosh,
game.
You're old, Jeremy. You're like, what are you throwing me into this for? I'm standing under the goalpost when it doinked, but then they got a second chance at it. So weird. Such a weird thing.
I don't remember anything else about that game except
for suspenders.
It was a garbage game. But the last minute was insane.
So
and
crazy.
Then everything that happened after the game ended was just surreal.
JD Falslev with his face on the ground and Utah players and fans in his ears harassing him was, again, peak rivalry.
It was a wild scene, man.
But, there were also people on the field, like, kind of putting some players a little bit in danger. Don't like that.
Well, the whole thing with Bronco and the guy in suspenders was like, that was way over the line.
Bonkers. All right. I wonder what suspenders guy's doing now.
I think his prison sentence is up here shortly.
I'm sure he's selling insurance.
Why insurance?
To BYU
fans?
Why
would you do that to insurance salesmen all over the place?
Well, it ain't medical devices,
you need to
but
be
it'll
careful.
do.
You got a son that's got to start driving.
I know.
You have a hard time finding an insurance agent that'll insure you for a good price. Jeez.
All right. What I'm saying is, if you go to the website, they also have a food drive they have going on. See, that's the stuff that also got back to good rivalry time, was like actual good causes. Instead of just couldn't even get in the same room with your coaches to have a good cause because they hated each other so much. Now the schools can have a little bit of a better back and forth. Okay. We'll come back. We got more to go around the corner. And we'll roll out some of what the first college football playoff bracket looks like more at length, and we'll kind of get into some of those things. Plus, what one caller in a sports radio talk show in Boston had to say, really an interesting take on an idea that could happen in the world of the NBA basketball. Could this change the future of what it looks like?
The Southie's going to change it all.
We're going to bring that up next. Stay right here at 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best college football coverage in Utah is on the KSL Sports Zone. Ready? It's another Holy War showdown as Kyle Whittingham and the Utes square off against the Cougars in Rice-Eccles Stadium. Your home for the best coverage of the Holy War is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's a Win Ticket Wednesday. You know what that means? We've got tickets to give away. Shocker, right? On a Win Ticket Wednesday. Today, oh my goodness, how about a 5-pack of tickets? A family 5-pack of tickets to the Utah Jazz and the New York Knicks. I was like, what's he playing? And then I forgot. This is the new updated version of John Tesh's classic. Is John Tesh still with us?
Stop.
Oh, okay. I won't do
Don't
that.
you dare.
I won't do that. Of course he is.
The man is a saint.
In a tuxedo.
The national treasure.
Caller number 12 right now gets a 5-pack of tickets to see the Jazz take on the Knicks at Delta Center on November 23rd. Oh, yeah. Got a couple weeks of planning on that one, too. 5-pack of tickets. 5 tickets to see the Jazz against the Knicks on November 23rd. 575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-9663 to win that family 5-pack of tickets. 801-575-ZONE. This was a caller. Oh, what station was this on? One of the Boston sports radio talk shows during the week here. They were asking about kind of like some ideas that could freshen up the game of basketball. Of course, it's an embarrassment of riches for Celtics fans right now. They just won the World Championship in the summer, and they're well on their way to being favorites in this year's race. What's going on?
Viewership's down.
Viewership is down?
Ratings are down. People are saying it's just a 3-point contest now.
So that's kind of
bored with it.
That's kind of what they got to, and they had this caller on their on a sports talk show there in Boston who gave his opinion on how to make the game a little bit funner.
Yeah, like basketball is one of the only sports that doesn't have a power play. And I think soccer just put in the blue card where a guy has to go off and it's 10-on-9. And so, like, we should have a power play where, like, you know, because let's say you get a technical or let's say you get a take foul, you get the one shot, but you're not really rewarded for that because if you miss it, you don't get the reward for the take foul. You know what I mean? So there should be like a power play where on a take foul, on a technical, you have to play 5-on-4 for 5 seconds or 3 passes.
Or charge. Or what about for an entire possession? You know, what if for the entire possession it's 5-on-4?
Yeah. I mean, that might be a little extreme, but I think we should institute power plays where instead of taking the ball out on the side, you commit a foul, the guy goes to the other side of half court, and he can't leave the half court circle until like 3 seconds.
Oh, I love this.
The biggest thing that we rob people of from an entertainment standpoint is you can't fight anymore. We should just bring back like fighting.
So was that caller like Sully from South Boston? Who is that?
No. Here comes the big reveal. The man who wants a power play in basketball in the NBA and had a terrible descriptor of it, by the way. I don't know. It's like 3 seconds with 5 seconds with 5-on-4. That was head coach of the Boston Celtics, Joe Mazzulla.
What?
Yes. That caller that we made sound like he was anonymous is the head freaking coach of the Boston Celtics.
That's Doug from Worcester.
It's Craig from Cambridge. What are your thoughts, Craig? I think a power play in basketball, he would have been laughed out of the dang building, but because it was the head coach of the Celtics on their program, they go, interesting. I love it. I love it. Do you love it? I love it. And they're like, no, you don't. It's a stupid idea.
I'm up fighting. Let's punch him right in the kisser.
That was the other thing is that Missoula goes, well, anything. They took away all the fun, though, and they took away all the fighting. You think, whoa, settle down. Settle down. So Joe Mazzulla says give him a power play in basketball. Plus, then he also takes his credibility down when he says that soccer has a blue card that takes it down to 10 versus 9. Who doesn't know it's called a red card? Who gets the color wrong? The blue card's new? What is it? Hold on. I'm going blue card. Blue card soccer. That's a new thing?
I did a little Googling.
Send a player off the field for 10 minutes. Oh, it's more serious than a yellow card, but less serious than a red card. What are we doing, soccer? A blue card? So penalty box for 10 minutes. Are we seeing this?
It's new. It's brand new.
Brand new.
It was started in February.
Yeah. What they call it? It's not penalty
it's
box.
It's so new that I have no idea.
I've never heard of a blue card.
I've never seen a blue card.
Well, I don't think
soccer.
it's been implemented either. That would send a player. Yeah, it's been proposed. Okay? If you get 2 blue cards, then you're sent off for the rest of the game. Well, yeah, because if you get 2 yellow cards, you're off for the rest of the game.
Isn't that the whole purpose of the yellow card?
So now we're going to go different shades here? Let's do the whole dang rainbow.
Now I'm all confused.
Okay? So it's not the penalty box, by the way, that they would send you to if you get the blue card. Did you see what they call it?
The sin bin.
The sin bin. Come on. That sounds like something a bunch of stuff confiscated at BYU.
Oh.
I worked at the MTC for a while, by the way. There's stuff that gets confiscated.
What kind of stuff's in the sin bin at the MTC?
Oh, boy. I'll say this. I talked to a security guy one time. No. There was a full game console that a guy had snuck in. Hid it in the. Don't try to make me old, Jeremy. What was it, Nintendo 64? No, Super Nintendo, because I'm that old. No, it was something along those lines, though. Ceiling tile. That's where they found it. Mm-hmm.
They found a video game console on the ceiling tile at the MTC.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Awesome. The other stuff I can't talk about.
Okay.
All right. We'll take the break. We'll go. More to go around the corner.
I don't even want to know. Thank you for not saying.
97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. When we return, David Nixon is going to join us on the program. Stay right here.
Fesi Sitake and the Cougars hope to keep their dream season alive as they head north to the Hill for a showdown against the Utes. Your home for the best coverage of the Holy War is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you what's going on this week, of course. It's rivalry week here on the station. We want to encourage you to rival right. Am I saying this right?
You're doing great.
Rivalry right? Don't rivalry wrong, rivalry right.
Can we start a website called Rivalry Wrong?
You cannot. No, you cannot. Jeremy's like, I'm dumping this.
No, that idea is so poo-poo.
No, that idea is poo-poo. I'm telling you. We got to keep this rivalry on the up and up, brother. I think it is. Look, as soon as Bronco was out of the equation and Kalani and Kyle became, I told you this, on the field in 2018.
Everybody will always follow the direction of the head coach.
Yes. And it was so heated for so many years. And then to see after the game, the two coaches, the coaching staffs coming together, high-fiving and saying, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? That changed everything. And by the way, that makes it a better rivalry, I think. The guys know each other so much, they want to beat the heck out of each other even more.
Yeah.
I think that's a total truism right there. Joining us on the program to give us more truisms about this rivalry, he is David Nixon, former BYU defender, and, of course, best hair on BYU TV across the board. David, you've been voted in, so congratulations.
Hey, every year it just keeps fading and fading, so I'll take it now, knowing that in 5 years it all might be gone. I don't take it for granted.
Good.
You never take that for granted. There's so much to dig into here, David, and before we get into the rivalry stuff, let's just talk about this BYU season, because I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this season, and you've been a fan and you've been covering the team, so you have both perspectives. The last few years, it's been up and down in Independence, and now you have this situation where you're in the Big 12, but last year didn't go well, and now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, is this dream season. What is it like for you both as someone who's covering it and somebody who played for this team to watch this team and this program do what they're doing this year?
I mean, obviously you couldn't ask for more, right? I mean, they're doing exactly what every fan would hope they could do, which is go out there and play complimentary football. Every phase of the game has gotten better throughout the season. And they're taking care of business. And a lot of times decisively, too, right? I mean, yes, Goonies had some nail-biters, the Oklahoma State game clearly. But to go do what they did to Kansas State, to go down to UCF where they're dogs against UCF and put it on them as well, go up 17-0, I mean, they're playing dominating football. And I think that's the part that's fun and exciting is, yeah, they've had some nail-biters, which makes it fun. But they've also gone out there and taken care of business when they've been underdogs. And this team – I don't know. I talk a lot about it, but I think look back at last year, and that 5-game losing streak that BYU had to end the season has paid massive dividends. I think that what it did to that team last year was it humbled them and made them realize you can't take games for granted, even when you're ahead like you were at Oklahoma State during the season at halftime, I think up to 18 points. It just makes you realize that every minute counts, every game counts, and these guys go out there and play as if it's the last game of the year. I remember hearing one of the receivers, I think it was Darius Lassiter, one of the receivers we interviewed in our post-game show, he mentioned that Fesi Sitake tells them, or maybe it was A-Rod, tells them that every game is your Super Bowl. And that's how it is with football, right? I mean, football, you have 12 games, guaranteed 12 games, that's it. So you train all season, all off season, you have 12 chances to walk out there and perform. It's not like basketball or baseball where you have 30, 40 games. You only have 12 opportunities. And so I think this team goes out there and they don't take it for granted. They go out there and perform well, and it's been fun to watch them string it all together.
When you see kind of how this rivalry's taken shape, and now it's kind of the point where it's an in-conference matchup, and you obviously got to play against Utah as a member of the Mountain West. Like, what does just the conference mate aspect of this game add to it?
I mean, it's everything. I mean, you guys were mentioning how the rivalry has cooled off ever since Bronco left. I do wonder now that they are conference foes, does it pick back up a little bit? Does it add a little bit more spark to it? I would probably say yes. I mean, I look back and when we played Utah at the end of the season every year at that last game, it was usually to decide the Mountain West Conference Championship. And of course, this year it looks like that probably won't be the case in this game, not only because Utah's struggling, but also, they position the game with 4 games left. I would love to see them put it the last game of the year. I think that was kind of just a scheduling misstep by them. But, it's a huge game. And beyond just the emotions that go into it, now you start talking about conference implications, and it takes on kind of a new life of its own. So I'm interested to see how it plays out. Will it have the same vitriol and kind of hate that it had back in the day? Probably not, just given Kalani and Kyle's relationship and even Morgan's relationship, assuming that he takes it over in the future, his relationship with Kalani. But I do think it gets stepped up a little bit starting this year now that it means something. I mean, back in independence and the Pac-12, it didn't mean much. It's kind of moved on. Yeah, you wanted to win it, but it didn't go against the win-loss or decide a conference championship per se. So we'll see how it plays out here in the future.
Yeah, David, I think that it's been a while since a BYU-Utah game has had so much at stake. And for BYU, this is everything. We know what's at stake with a college football playoff with a Big 12 championship on the line. Utah's desperate and hungry for a win. How do you think that dynamic plays out on Saturday with BYU having so much pressure on them to keep what's going and then Utah feeling the pressure of trying to get a win and trying to get back to doing what they're used to doing, which is winning football games?
100%. I think that's why this game is so compelling, right? I mean, you look at BYU. Well, first of all, you look at the beginning of the season, and we all kind of circled this game saying, Utah is going to have everything to lose in this game because most likely they'd also be headed towards the college football playoff and BYU be the underdogs. And, of course, the roles have been flipped or reversed. And so, now BYU's kind of got their target on their back. You've got Utah who's trying to dig themselves out of a 4-game losing streak. There's no better way to do that than to get your rivalry and to ruin their season per se, right? I mean, if I'm Utah, I'm looking at my chops. And, of course, if you're BYU, there is some pressure on you. But at the same time, I think this team, the way they performed under pressure this season tells you a lot about them. And I remember going and looking at this squad before the season began, and Vegas had the win totals 4.5 games, right? I remember going on record and saying, listen, I could see a path to 8 wins for this team. They'd have to perform well and play well, but I think they could get to 8 wins. And for me, it was because of the returning production. I mean, you look at this BYU team last year, and there were a ton of guys who got injured in the first, second, third game of the year that were starters, major contributors. And so those guys' seasons were over, or they had to rehab for the majority of the season. So all of a sudden, you had all these backups that now got significant playing time that came in, and they played the rest of the season. And you returned both those first and second stringers this year. And so now you've got the depth that we always talk about you need in the Big 12, and that's come along really well. And then, of course, those starters have come out and played tremendously. I mean, defensively, you look at that defensive line, the way they're playing with between Mangelston, Nelson, and Batty, and then the linebackers, which I'd argue maybe the best linebacking core that they've had there in a decade. BYU's had some good one-offs with of course, Fred Warner and Cal Van Noy and others. But as far as 3 starting backers, these guys are pretty amazing. And then you look at the secondary, one of the best pass efficiency defenses in the country. So if I'm Utah offensively that's struggling right now, there's not a lot of holes to pick in on this BYU defense right now. They're playing at a really high level.
So when you hear the Jake Retzlaff interviews that we've heard, and obviously being able to talk with these guys, the big theme all year long has been, oh, nobody else believed in us, but we did. This whole locker room knew we had something special in January. And there's a little part of me that goes, yeah, but there's also like a lot of teams across the country say, we knew we had it. We, in this locker room, we believed in ourselves. That happens for a lot of teams, but obviously not a lot of teams end up going 8-0 after that. How much of that has been learned along the way versus actually kind of being like, oh, no, we knew we were good at the beginning of the year?
I think all of it's been learned along the way. You got to give credit to Kalani and his coaching staff, and for them, like I said, coming off a 5-game losing streak, you're staring down the barrel last year of a 5-2 record. All you got to do is win 1 game to get the ball out of the building. You don't, and for the fact to turn it around and go 8-0, guys, that's remarkable. I mean, because that's a pretty tough thing to rebound from those 5 losing games in a row at the end of the season. To all of a sudden go in the off season and be able to rally the troops and have this type of turnaround. I mean, and so I understand why Vegas put the win total at what it was, right? Because it's so hard to do. But credit to Kalani and the rest of the coaching staff, and obviously credit to the players. These guys have bought in. And what's pretty impressive about this roster, frankly, is they didn't go out to the transfer portal. They didn't say, hey, we got to overhaul this whole roster. You look at the starters, all these guys were on the roster last year. Maybe there's 1 or 2 guys, Mark Collins on defense and a few others that have come in. But the majority of the starters were guys that were on the roster last year. They didn't say we have to go back and reinvent the wheel. They believed in their team, and I think the kids bought in. I think they realized, hey, I don't have 3 transfers coming in to take my spot. the coaches believe in me and they know I can do my job and we can win games. And so I think that the culture that Kalani built there without hitting the panic button has, like I said, it's paid dividends. And it's fun to see this team really rally around each other. And I think that's been the biggest thing. You talk about unity. That's exactly what this team has right now. I think they believe in each other. They believe in the coaching staff. I think there's respect mutually both ways. And it shows on the field. These guys are playing fantastic football.
BYU ranked 9th in the first college football playoff rankings. What was your reaction?
I mean, it's about where I thought they'd be, considering that's where they were ranked the prior week. So it wasn't much of a surprise as far as the ranking goes. But listen, I'd be lying if I said that I'd look at every time I look at that little, the mock playoff bracket and BYU is the 4th seed getting a first round bye. Like how amazing is that, right? I mean, it's unbelievable that they're in this position. And I've told other fellow fans, I go, listen, it's really, really difficult to run the table in college football, pro, anywhere. It's really difficult to go undefeated. BYU most likely will lose a game this year. The odds are stacked against them. They're going to lose a game probably somewhere along the way. So just enjoy this ride. It might be this week. It might be against Arizona State, right? It might be against Kansas at home. Who knows? But just enjoy the ride because most likely it'll come to an end. But you have to enjoy this 8-0 season, this start they've had thus far because it's remarkable and it's been a blast. I mean, it's fun seeing your team top 10 in the country. It's taken so long to get back to this spot, but just enjoy it.
There's something that's been really interesting to watch too, and there is a culture situation at BYU that, I feel like has been just as big of a deal inside that locker room as just winning. But before we let you go here, David, when you see this team and you see them going up to Salt Lake, how is it that they can get the losing up at Rice-Eccles off of their back?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think it's been noted that a lot of these kids haven't played in this rivalry game. In fact, I don't think any of the kids have played up at Utah before. And so for them, I don't know if there's anything daunting about the records that have been held up there. But I think it just comes down to, just do what they've done throughout the rest of the season, which is, once again, when the cards have been stacked against them, when Vegas is counting them out and lines have been shifted all over the place, that they just go out there and perform and then do their jobs and kind of play for each other. I think this team, for me, the first 15 minutes of this game will be very telling. I think if BYU can jump out to a start like they did against UCF and just keep their foot on the gas pedal, then I think Utah, given the 4-game skid and given where they're at, they might tend to just probably, quit or kind of slump off a little bit. But I think if you give Utah any type of life in this game, given the fact that it's the rivalry game, this game can go either way. I mean, prior to the 2 prior meetings, there were 6 straight games of 1 score or less that the game was decided upon. So we know that these games are always tight. And for BYU, I think it's going to come down to that first 15 minutes, that first quarter. What type of start can they get off to? Are they taking care of the ball? They convert on third down? Are they putting up points? Are they one of the best teams in the country in red zone offense? Can they convert in the red zone? That's going to be the telltale sign.
David Nixon, former BYU linebacker, currently BYU TV analyst. David, thanks for hanging out with us, man. We appreciate it. We're going to jump on with Fesi Sitake here in just a sec. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks, David.
I love it. Always fun. Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. David Nixon. And joining us on the program right now, fresh off the practice field, passing game coordinator, wide receivers coach, he is Fesi Sitake. How's it going, Coach?
It's going well, man. How are you guys?
Oh,
it's rivalry week.
It's been a chill week for us. We haven't had anything to talk about. It's great.
Yeah.
I bet. It seems like you need something to talk about, man. I don't know if I can help you.
Good thing we got a hockey team now, Fesi.
Oh, yeah. Thank goodness.
Yeah, exactly.
How's practice been this week? One of the things we're able to talk about every week with a couple of these players is be like, one thing that they keep stressing is, man, we had a great week of practice, and that translated into the game. So what's this look like this week on the field for the Cougs at practice?
The energy's been great, man. Like, I think these guys are, we don't have to – sometimes as coaches you have to kind of like Jedi mind trick players in certain situations, but these guys get it. It's out there. They know it's a rivalry week. But what I love is that the way they're practicing, the way they're, honing in on the attention to details, all that stuff is reflective of just how they've kind of carried themselves every week. And so they view this as obviously a big game. It's a rivalry, but they kind of haven't changed their process. So the energy's great. Guys are flying around. It was cold outside today, but they understand it's going to be cold. A lot of our games moving forward, especially these night ones, and they fought through that and didn't let it get to them at all. So it's been fun to watch them as it gets closer to the game. Just that energy start to build up.
The players have done a great job of blocking everything out and just focusing on what they need to, and that's why you guys are 8-0 and you're having this success. But this week, you A, have the rivalry game, which can become a distraction, and B, the college football playoff rankings are out, and you guys you don't live under a rock. This is a big deal, and this is your goal. So how do you balance all that stuff and all these things going on this week and just have them focus on what they've been doing for the first 8 weeks?
What really helps is when you have a goal, something that's kind of right there in mind, something you're striving for. It's a lot easier, I think, to block all that out. And so they've done a great job at just kind of realizing, all the emotions and leading up to this game, but saying, you know what, truly, this is another game. Some people, I feel, that's controversial. Like some people are like, oh, it's not another game. It's in-state's rivalry, but it is. And we understand all that stuff that comes with it. And so these guys, they get it. I think as coaches, we haven't had to work too hard at framing this, like try to balance out the emotions. Like they're like, you guys, this is another. Every week has been a Super Bowl for us, and this one is Super Bowl 9, and it happens to be a team that's 45 minutes up the road instead of a 4-hour flight or whatever it might be, and it's one that has a deep history and tradition, but it really is just another game, number 9. And I think the way they've been carrying themselves, it's a confidence. It's something that you can't fake, and it's been fun to watch them.
Do the players and do you guys as a coaching staff, does the pressure build on an 8-0 start, and does it just get more crazy from one week to the next in terms of that pressure on your shoulders? I know the expectations weren't anywhere near where this 8-0's delivered you, but I would assume that every week there's that feeling of people wanting to run you down even more, and then whether or not you guys can keep and maintain that, not just the energy during practice, but the performance during the games. It seems to just keep getting better every week.
Yeah, I think it's a good kind of pressure, as opposed to ones we've had in the past where you're fighting for a season, you're fighting for a bowl game, you're fighting for your job. That's a reality of this profession, both from a coach's and a player standpoint, and we've a lot of us have had those, and so now a lot of coaches. We were talking the other day. There's not a lot of coaches who have been part of this far in the season and have been undefeated. And so, but it's a really good pressure. Like what you're saying, there's a target on our back. We're the hunted, as opposed to the hunters type. And I think that all that does is just increase your sense of urgency, your attention to detail. It makes you step back and say, okay, what are we, trying to accomplish here? What do we need to continue to fix? What process do we need to stay committed to? And so the guys they feel the right type of pressure in a good way. And like I said, I think a lot of that is just, there's confidence that's building because of those pressure points that we have.
As a receivers coach, you spent a lot of time with Darius Lassiter, and he has become a star this year. We all know what he did at the end of the Oklahoma State game, but I was even more impressed by that 4th down he converted at UCF. What has he done to elevate his game this season and be able to make the kind of impact plays that he's made to help you guys get to 8-0?
Yeah, he's epitomized just you show how much you love this game just by the way you play, not just talking about it. He's taken a huge step in terms of leadership. Last year he was so caught up in just, I got to get acclimated, I got to get this playbook down so I can be an every down reliable guy. That was really hard for him to look outward, and say, where can I go lift someone up and encourage guys. This year, man, he's one of the guys on the sideline that, if we're struggling as an offense, he's being positive. He's going up and lifting the guys up. If the defense is struggling, he says, hey, we got you guys. When Oklahoma State scored, he literally just went to everyone and says, we got this. We're going to go score. And it's just to see him just kind of focus on everyone and take the attention off himself, but then at the same time to make some of the unbelievable plays he's made this year. It just kind of epitomizes who he is. He's a very just quiet, humble, selfless leader, but he loves this game and he's passionate about it. And I love when it comes out in form of, being vocal like he's done a lot this year. So it's been a blessing to watch him, grow and flourish as a player and as a man.
Fesi, last question here as we get you out of here, and you can go hang out maybe with the other coaches or your family. Heaven forbid you hang out with your family on a game week like this.
They're probably sick of you. So
yeah, I need excuses to not go see them.
They're like, Dad's got too much pressure this week. As you kind of have seen also the other side of this, Jake Retzlaff has grown quite a bit from the receiver side of things, and watching, and obviously you guys playing a ton in that passing game around what Jake can do and what he's been able to accomplish. What's been the biggest change in him this year?
he's really he's just really trusted the system. He's playing within the system now. And I think part of the growth that he had to experience himself was some of the stuff he's been able to get away with as just being a, feisty, competitive, type of player. He's not able to get away with here, or it doesn't send a great message. And it's a credit to him and just putting his head down and just kind of re-examining, like, what do I need to do to help this offense and this team? And he's done such a good job of that. People can see he's playing with this confidence, completely different than what he had last year. But he's earned that. He's earned it because he's playing within the system. He's trusting what his coaches are telling him. He's trusting the players around him. They, in return, have all the confidence in the world in him. So it's been really cool to see that start to take shape. And so I think that's just been the biggest thing is he's always been talented. He's always been competitive, but he's learned how to just kind of make the right decisions and trust the system and the coaches and the things he's being told.
Fesi Sitake, Coach, thanks for taking some extra time today. We appreciate it. Have a fun rest of the practices this week and get you guys ready, and we're looking forward to this game on Saturday.
Pleasure's mine. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach Sitake. Fesi Sitake. Don't get it confused.
Do not.
I will say the hungry and humble thing, like that passing game and the wide receivers, they got no reason to be humble this year. They are performing phenomenally.
You know what, though? I give them credit. In this, what happened on Tuesday, it just gives them more ammo. They keep having to come up with things to motivate themselves because when you're 8-0, you got to find a reason. Because
but they don't see that stuff. They don't see what the national media is saying, JJ, remember?
That's why I asked Fesi about that. And they're doing a good job of keeping that out, but you also want to pick and choose what you want to keep in or bring in. And I think the 2.5 point underdog thing at UCF, they use that. There's no doubt about that.
Time. Yep.
What do you think they're going to use this week?
National media still doesn't
The
think we've done
College Football
enough.
Playoff Committee is not very impressed with what we've done. They don't believe we're very good.
We ain't done enough.
They don't think we're as good as our resume and our records show that they are. So guess what we got to go do?
Indy freaking Anna. We're not better than Indy freaking Anna.
We have a better resume than Miami. Are we really 4 spots worse? 5 spots lower? So there's things they can use to motivate this group that does come from the outside, and I think they're also doing a good job of that as well.
We named the dog Indiana. Does anybody ever explain why Indiana Jones's dad had a Scottish accent? Nobody talked about it. Nobody
it never came up.
Talked about it. I know he taught across the world. But my goodness.
Maybe he's just one of those imposters that pick up the accent of wherever it's convenient to pick it up.
Indiana. Weirdest storyline ever that they hooked up with the same German Nazi archaeologist. Super weird, right?
Very.
But classic. But a classic. All right. She talks in her sleep. Join the zone for extended pregame coverage as BYU and Utah face off. We're going to be at
Suck it, Trebek.
We're going to be at Roland Hall, 720 Guardsman Way, brought to you by Beehive Meals, proud meal partner for BYU and Utah Athletics. We'll come back. We've got more to go. We've got our NFL Blitz. Don't want to miss any of it. Stay here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
In the NFL, JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You know what that music means. We got some NFL to talk about. Before we do, guess what else we have to talk about? Guess what else we got to bring up? First and 12, a podcast that Mitch Harper and I, and a radio show that Mitch Harper and I have been doing now for 2 years since BYU joined the Big 12, knowing that Utah was going to join the Big 12 this year. This is a podcast dedicated with heavy emphasis on Utah and BYU coverage, but with the whole view of the Big 12. It's called First and 12. It's every Sunday, 10 to noon on KSL News Radio and on the KSL Sports Zone, all at the same time. It's all brought to you by Macy's Groceries. Freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your local favorite brands. Macy's, happy shopping. Let me see here. So I was expecting that Micah Parsons might be back this week, but what are they doing? They're going to go another extra week of probably, they say he might be back. Listed as questionable for this week. You may have forgotten. If you're Micah Parsons, you're going, you know what? I'm going to take the rest of the year off. He's been gone since week 4, and ever since then, his Cowboys are, what are they overall, 3-5 now on the season?
Yeah, they suck.
And I don't think, and by the way, Dak Prescott, I don't know what they're going to be doing with him. Is he not going to be playing?
No, he's out for a while.
So he's going to be on the IR.
Not yet.
Enter Cooper Rush. Everybody's favorite backup. Defender's favorite backup.
Add him to your fantasy football roster right now.
Cooper Rush, DBs are licking their chops.
I do remember a couple years ago, they're like, maybe he's the guy. Won a couple games.
Oh, my gosh. Just like Jason Garrett when he was playing backup quarterback. He might, dude. I mean.
Cowboy fans love their backup.
Oh, I'm telling you. It's a great spot to be in. I told you when I was in 4th grade, Steve Pallure came to our elementary school, and I was selected to catch a ball from him in our class.
Did you drop it?
Well, he hit it way in front of the turf in front of me, just like he did in normal games.
Oh, no.
That's why he was the backup. Which also made me sad because he was a Washington Husky, man. But, yeah, he ended up – so that was one of these years that, like, Danny White was he was getting into the older Danny White era.
The pre-Troy Aikman quarterback days for the Cowboys.
This is a 1-15 year?
This is no, I don't think it was the 1-15 year, but I think it was the year before, and I think he got a lot of playing time in that because 1-15 was Troy Aikman. Yeah. So it was the year before that.
Staubach, and Danny White had some good years.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you had a montage of
a poop show.
Forgettable Dallas Cowboys quarterbacks.
Including Steve Pallure. But that was like unforgettable day for me. A Dallas Cowboy came to our elementary school. Now, Valley Ranch was like 5 minutes from the Dallas Cowboy golf course that they built is in my hometown. Like they are right there now. But nevertheless, I did catch it. I caught it. I caught the pass from Steve Pallure. It was nice. Really good. Bengals running back Zach Moss. Bad news for the former Ute. Going to the IR with a neck injury. Likely going to be out of the season. That's always scary. Those types of injuries always
scary.
Neck,
I'm like, uh-oh.
I know.
Let's hope it's not a big deal, and let's hope that Zach can get back healthy at some point in the future, but likely out for the season.
Well, what stinks is the Bengals, like he's not been a problem this year. The Bengals have been one of the most disappointing teams of the last 2 or 3 seasons. And that's now with, like, Joe Burrow kind of figuring a couple things out here and there. What did he throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns against the Ravens last week? It's like this too little too late feeling, though, right? Like, he's not figuring it out.
The rough start. It's tough to dig out of a 1-4 start.
Eli Manning and Marshawn Lynch have moved on to the next round. They are now finalists in the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2025. They're not there yet. Eli Manning, to me, we've talked about his numbers forever, but Marshawn Lynch, to me, never, even as a Seahawks fan, I didn't really think to myself, oh, yeah, this guy is definitely a Hall of Famer.
Really?
Because his numbers are phenomenal when you look at it, but he was always so hit and miss. And he wasn't a Seahawk for his entire career. But, I mean, Sean Alexander's also on the list of guys who are on the. Here are the finalists for running backs. You ready? Sean Alexander, also Seahawk. Tiki Barber. I'll take guys who are going to get in probably for no reason to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for 500, Alex. Eddie George, in, right?
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch, probably. And Fred Taylor. Can you believe how old we are, dude?
Yeah.
That Fred Taylor is on the list. Ricky Waters, also on that list of running backs on the that are in the finals.
Marshawn Lynch being on the Hall of Fame ballot.
That makes
me feel really old.
Yeah.
Like I've got kids that wore his jersey. My kids.
I've never seen a more interesting runner in the league.
He has one of the most iconic touchdown runs in NFL history.
But by the way,
the crowd reaction measured on the Richter scale.
If you ever go back and look at his highlight films, every one of his runs are some version of that. It was just a longer version of that he did like his entire career. Guys thought he had him down.
5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-NFL, won a Super Bowl, 29th all-time in rushing.
Actor, that's true. My favorite part was when we went on ESPN on one of those late-night Pac-12 games and dropped like 4 F-bombs. Anyway, thank you so much, Marshawn. He's like, oh, sorry, we live? And they're like, oh, yeah, we are.
He's a national treasure. By the way, 8th all-time in postseason rushing yards. That matters.
Not bad. Not bad. Okay. We'll take the break here. We'll come back. We've got more to go. We've got tons to get through. Our best and worst is next. Stay with us. 97.5 KSL Sports.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
Oh, boy. Abrupt stop to the old music there. Sorry about that. Jeez. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen, wrapping up this hour with a little bit of best and worst. It's all brought to you by the good folks at the Doug Smith family of dealerships. Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. Visit the Doug Smith dealerships in Linden and Spanish Fork. Great service starts with know-how, and nobody knows like Doug. Here, Doug. All right, you cast your vote for the best of the day, and frankly, we probably could have done a it's early, though. We can't talk too early about college basketball or I'll go nuts.
Yeah.
However,
I know it's the first week of November. It was game 1, but I can't help it. I love Jaeger Demon. Love him. BYU fans, you are so lucky. You got a one-and-done kid from Moscow, Russia, who's going to be a lottery pick next year. He's special, and he showed last night in the Merit Center why he's special. In 31 minutes, he scores 18 points, dishes out 11 assists, gets 4 steals, so he's defending too. Also picks up 4 rebounds.
How big is he?
7. How big is he? What
6'11"?
are his measurements?
Yeah.
Not quite that big, but I mean, 6'8" maybe.
But NBA body, right? Like for that, like he's kind of a perfect.
I'm watching the highlights. It's like it looks like an NBA player playing against college kids.
So he's that impressive from the passing. We've heard it already, right?
I get it. He's 6'8", 190 pounds. Okay,
there you go.
So he's got a good NBA body. He plays point guard, but he's got that kind of size, and that's kind of the norm in the NBA now. As you see 6'8" guys that can do stuff like this that really excel. He's going to be a lottery pick, but he's going to play for BYU this year. And I know BYU's picked 9th in the Big 12. They're not ranked in the top 25 right now, but he is good enough. In fact, I think he is – everyone's going to talk about Cooper Flagg all year long. And I know there's some other good talent that's one and done around college basketball, but Jaeger Demon is going to be in the Player of the Year conversation.
Really?
He's that good.
So what are numbers going to look like for him? Is he going to be like it's like a 20 – it's like he's going to have –
He can average a double-double in points and assists in every game, and then he's going to have the steals. He's going to get some boards. He's going to dominate the game. If you watch him play the game – he plays it at such a high level for somebody at his age and his experience level. It's just awesome.
Is Kyle Collinsworth's triple-double record in jeopardy at all? Probably not, because that was quite unique.
No, that was something.
Yeah.
I don't know that Jaeger's going to get the rebounds.
Yeah.
Especially with what he's doing on the floor. So I don't know about that, but my goodness, Jaeger Demon is the best. I mean, Jimmer Fredette obviously had a number, but he got better over 4 years, and he had his wooden season as a senior. Jaeger Demon is going to have that kind of an impact as a freshman. He's not going to score 40-something points a game,
and he gone.
But exactly,
yeah.
But if you watch him play, you're like, wow, BYU has not had somebody that looks and plays like this.
Nope. No,
and he makes everybody around him better. Cannon Catchings, 17 points last night. Easy lobs.
We heard everybody.
Traore,
we heard everybody.
Keita.
Yeah, we heard everybody was. Everybody was falling over themselves to tell us how good of a passer he was for a big man.
Yeah,
and for just a guy who 6'9" type NBA body, but he's able to facilitate like he does. And they're like, "What 18-year-old has this court vision?"
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's and you saw it last night.
All right.
It's not every night's going to be perfect. There's going to be ups and downs, but you saw last night his potential.
Another BYU basketball season where we have to watch this team overperform now. Although I guess it's not a overperformance now if they finish because they got into the top 25 in pretty quick order last year after they got on a good run at the beginning.
If it doesn't go perfectly and you finish 6th or 7th, you're still going to be like a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Absolutely. And then the worst, we'll gloss over this as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
Utah Hockey Club, we knew what type of a battle this was going to be. I had hope when this thing was only 1-0 at the end of 2 periods, and I thought, all right, get one back, and let's see where you're at. But the Utah Hockey Club has bad third periods. We're starting to find out that it falls off on from an energy standpoint. You get a little loose on the defense. It's not good to do that on the road and the best team in hockey. By the way, the Jets are 12-1 now.
Yeah.
And so you knew it was going to be tough.
In their barn.
Yeah, and they said it was going to be. Look, what did Bill Armstrong say yesterday? He's like, look, this is going to be a massive test. What do we look like against the best team in the NHL by far? And you lost 3-0.
You saw the gap.
There you go. Their goaltending, phenomenal, by the way. All right, we'll take a break here. We'll come back. We've got more to go right around the corner. Don't miss any of it. Stay here, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.